Okay, you guys. So here's something new dealing with money, lies, family, and all together mess. Rich people problems and mess. Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for season 1, episode 1 of Riches. Riches is a new little program that I have run into. It is on a streaming service. So there's 6 episodes in the first season, which is really small, which makes me nervous. It makes me nervous, but I think it's really good. I really do. I feel like this program is really good, and I think it may actually hold its own. So we're just going to see. But there's 6 episodes in the first season, and they're all there. It is on Amazon Prime, is where I actually took my time and watched. But it's called Riches. And as I said, it deals with family, and it's a blended family. It's a strained family. It's a family with money. It's Black Dynasty. It's Black Dynasty, Nigerian style. Okay. So part of the story takes place in London. Part of the story takes place in the United States. When we first open up, we see Stephen. Stephen actually has this whole company of beauty products, more geared to hair care and cosmetics. Okay. And doing very, very well. There's a lot of things in this series that are actually attacked and touched on, such as colorism, family secrets, and all these things you'll see as we actually are going forward. But right away, Stephen is having this interview with a magazine, and basically he and the journalist are actually speaking about, the journalist is being very coy as to the racism card. And he's saying, well, why do you think it took so long before? I've been successful. I've been growing this empire. Why do you think it's taken so long for me to actually be interviewed by your magazine? You think it doesn't have anything to do with racism? So, I said, okay, so we see Stephen is right there. He's right out in your face. Nigerian man, right in your face. And that's that. Like I said, he is in London. At the same time, we see Nina. Nina is actually in New York City here in the States. And she's part of a company, and she is doing her thing in the company. She's just made a record-breaking deal, and there's talks. Actually, they're celebrating, but there's talks of her moving from vice president to president of the company in some, short span of time. Really, really on top of her game. While she's in the midst of the celebration, she gets a phone call, and she excuses herself. She goes outside. She's taking this phone call. Here, the phone calls from Stephen. Stephen and her are talking right away. You could see the contention between. There's like a lot of tension in between the two of these two, and we figure out Stephen is actually her father. Stephen is her father. She basically blew him off. She's asking him, where'd you get this number from? This, that, thing, and the other. We found out that he literally hasn't actually called her for like 20 years. Okay. So she really doesn't want to talk. He's basically trying to kick it like 20 years haven't gone by. She dismisses him basically off her phone. So don't call me. Don't call me again. And she goes on about her business. In the midst of this, he's at the office. We then see Maureen. Maureen is his right-hand man, so to speak. Anybody who remembers How to Get Away with Murder, Maureen reminds you so much of Bonnie. So much of Bonnie, everything. She looked like an older version of Bonnie, just as downtrodden, just as sinister looking. And right away, something with me said, I don't trust this Maureen. I don't trust her. But she's his right-hand man. She's his assistant. She's his executive administrative assistant. And just, so I just, I don't know. I don't know about that Maureen. But anyway, we got her. He's there. Maureen tells him, you look tired. You look tired. And he's like, go ahead home, Maureen. Go home. You know, she goes home. There's a cleaning lady. The cleaning lady is like lingering. I said, oh, I see all this symbolism. I see this. I know what's going to go on. Sure enough, a few minutes later, we see Stephen suffer a heart attack and collapse there in his office. And then the phone calls start. The phone calls start, and you start to see all of these other characters who are actually attached to Stephen. We got Nina back in New York. Nina has hooked up with a cute little guy, and we're seeing right away that she has this whole Nina moves like a dude. Okay, she is not looking for an attachment. It's really about the bam 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 and see you later. So we pick that up on her. We also see another lady who is there in London. She has herself a little boy toy, and she's getting down with him. We find out who she is. Her name is Claudia. Claudia is Stephen's wife, who is laying around with a boy toy that actually works at the business. He is actually the CFO of Stephen's business, laying up with his wife. And he's literally her children's age. So Miss Claudia. Then we see Gus. Gus is at the club, and Gus is actually one of he's Stephen's son. Okay. Not bad looking at all, but he is very much like he's a playboy with no game, basically. He's just a rich kid. He's just a little rich dude. And he's slighted to be like next in line to own his dad's company. But, you know, he's just there. He really doesn't have a whole bunch of experience. He worked for his dad's company, and he's just there. But he's not in any way, shape, or form really ready to be the CEO of the company. He's literally at a club, like I said, and he's got people leeching off of him and running up his tab on his card. Okay, so he's just young. He's just young, and he's young-minded, not really ready for anything. He's spoiled. Then we go over and we see there's one of his sisters, and she has a white boyfriend. She basically is the baby of the family, and nothing really major going on. That's Wanda. Nothing going on with her. She's just a brat, pretty much, just a brat. And then we see another sister who is Alicia, who is very talented as far as social media. Okay, but she doesn't work with the company. Not directly. She just does her own thing, but she has a social media presence. She understands social media. She is basically ignoring calls. She's working. She's sitting there with her ring light doing her thing, like I'm sitting there doing my thing. Same old thing. And she's ignoring calls coming through. Okay. Wanda's calling her. She don't really want to talk to her. She's just ignoring her. All this is going on. The father is laying there, then collapsed. and he's been rushed to the hospital. The one who actually got the message is Gus. Gus is on his way. He leaves the club and he's shot out like a bolt of lightning. He's on his way to the hospital. Eventually, Claudia gets done screwing. She gets there. Wanda gets there. Gus is on the way. Gus gets pulled over by the police. And it's the classic, the police officer is plugging because he wasn't really speeding. He does a breathalyzer test and all of that, which tells you still he's like a fogey from Kastogie. He got the card where they're running up all the drinks, but he really wasn't drinking all like that at the club. He passed the breathalyzer. He got pulled over because he had a nice sports car and he's black, dark skin black. And he was pulled over by this white cop. And we see right there, the cop was just prolonging this whole situation, wanting to run his plates, doing all these things, literally prolonging things as opposed to letting him go. By the time he finally does let him go and he gets to the hospital, his father is gone. He has actually died. So just not a good day for Gus at all. And I said, there's so interesting thing with him and this police officer. But I said, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. So that's that. Back over in New York, we find out later, okay, which is like the next couple days, there's some calls from a guy named Gideon. Gideon is the executor and used to be a close working partner of Stevens. He takes care of his legal affairs for the most part. Gideon is keeping contact with Nina. Nina has a brother, okay, as well. And the two of them, Simon is the brother. Simon is gay. Simon is part of the beauty industry as well. He's like a stylist and a hairdresser and all these different things. And he has clients. He's doing really well. He's at the top of his game as well. But the two of them are faced with the whole task of saying, okay, so do we go to London? Nina doesn't want anything to do with it. She's like, I care less. Like, I ain't seen him. I don't deal with him. He was already pretty dead to me anyway. I don't, And Simon's telling her, well, you really need the closure, Nina. So that's that. They talk to their mother. Their mother is just like Nina. She says, listen, who even cares? That man left us penniless. I brought us to America. I made certain that we were able to survive and that kind of thing. And it is what it is. And the mother told him, listen, if you want to go to London and see the woman he chose over us, then by all means, have at it. But she's just not on board for it. So finally, Simon actually talks Nina into it. And off they go to London. In the meantime, in between time, we see Claudia now. We see Claudia with her children, okay? And they're speaking about the other two. So they know about the other two children. And they basically are saying, we are not going to do infighting. We're going to sit through this like a family, and we're just going to take care of this like a family. There's two other people, floating around. They're like, if they are to show up, we have nothing to do with them. They have nothing to do with their dad. If they show up, it's just because they're greedy, and we'll take care of them. It's not, nobody's worried about them. So here it was. Claudia had literally changed the time of the funeral. So in comes Simon and Nina. They get off the plane. They find out they've missed the funeral. They've completely missed the funeral. And Gideon's like, yeah, Claudia changed the time of the funeral. So right away, we see Claudia is going to be a thorn in their side. She ain't got it for them, okay? So just mean and nasty. I said, oh my. But never to fret. Miss Nina now has a bug up her ass, okay? And she's like, really? Like, who does that? And Gideon tells them, well, you all are just in time because the will reading is shortly. So they get a car and they're on their way to the house. So they end up showing up there at the house, baby, and everybody's gathered. And Gideon's saying, you know, this, with everything going on, this will reading can actually take place another time. And honey, she's like, Claudia's like, no, we're all here. We could just get it on out of the way now. And he says, actually, yeah, everybody's not here, but everybody's going to be here in a second. Sure enough, here comes Nina and here comes Simon. Honey, the people are evil. So they all get in there and they're in there for the will reading. They start reading off the will. 1 million was given to Maureen. So Maureen is set. I said, oh, so I'm sure, you know, that's a real high position for a secretary. But she's got 1 million. So she's got £1 million and she's good to go. She ain't got to work no more ever if she don't want to. Okay. So that's that. And then he leaves a lump sum of money. And he says, this is to be split between my genetic children. This is to be split between them. So we're saying, okay, there we go. That's it. But here he has it set up. It's going to go into trusts for them, and nobody can get it until they're actually 40. Nobody's even 30, I don't believe, in the group. So I'm like, oh my God. And you know, he had left the videotape. And Gideon's telling, listen, he says on the videotape, I don't want any of them to just have my money and just be living off my money. I want to make sure that everybody has solidified themselves before they get their hands on the money, where they've built things for themselves and they have their own lives, and the money will just literally add on to what it is they already have. Just that nobody's just laying up and just living off of my money. I said, oh my, I said, okay. So that's that. He leaves the house to Claudia, tells her, have at it. You the house and the car, you can have that. And then she actually is going to get alimony, basically. Well, I don't guess you would call it alimony, spousal support of 20, was it 20,000 a month? I think it's 20,000 a month. And then they already had talked about it beforehand. The mother, Claudia, was saying, you know, Gus, you're going to become the CEO. Well, that's not true. That's not true. The company will be left to be handled by Simon and Nina. I said, what you say? Now, it actually makes sense because, again, Nina and Simon are at the top of their game. They're both in that business. They're in that business and they know how to do it. But they have no attachment to him nor that business, but they just gained the business and the attachment. They are the CEOs, 50-50 of this company. I said, wow. And they are pissed. When I tell you that Claudia went left, honey, and cussed Gideon out and threw the fruit on the table in Gideon's lap, called him all kind of names, told him, you did this. You did this. You changed this will. I said, girl, she showed her natural black behind. You hear me? Carried on something terrible. Told him, and then she ended up telling Nina, she said, you have not won, little girl. I will sue you, little girl. And you have not won. I will not take this lying down the way your mother did. I said, what? Honey, and that Nina stepped up to her, honey, and said, what'd you say? Say it again. I said, oh, she's going to beat her ass, honey. Say it again. She just standing there looking at her. But I said, who does that? Who does that? You stole their father from their mother. And then we find out in here that the company itself was the brainchild of Nina and Simon's mother. You swept all that right from up underneath her. And now you standing in the woman's daughter's face talking shit. I said, oh my. Oh my. So that was that. Then later on after that is when we found out that Andre, which is the boy toy of Claudia's, actually works there. And she told him, you're going to help me get my company back from them. I don't know how you let this go on up underneath your nose, but you're going to fix it. Period. So they're there like a day or two later. And Nina's like, I don't want to be bothered with this mess. I'm not getting in it. Simon's like, yeah, like, we ain't got that to do. We got our own lives. We could just go ahead and we could basically get some money out of it, sell our parts out to them, and we'll get our pay. They'll get their money, but they just won't be involved. Their mother was on the same thing. Their mother's like, don't even get entangled. Your father is messy. Don't get entangled in his mess. Bring yourself on back to the States. Do what you need to do and come on back to your regular life. Whatever you get from it, you get from it whenever, but just don't get entangled in it. So they end up going into this meeting. Everything's drawn up. Gideon was trying to tell Nina, like, it's crazy. Like, this is crazy. You're somewhere. Yes, you're doing well, but you're doing well for someone else's company. You have your own company now. Like, and it's already booming. You have an empire of your own. Just all you gotta do is run it, And she's like, but it doesn't make sense. Like, why us? Something just doesn't seem right. So they go ahead on. She has the papers drawn up. Gideon's there, ready. They get in there. They start going on. There's a couple words exchanged at the signing. Nina sits down. There's 3 pages that she needs to sign. And Claudia's running her mouth, talking smack, says something else smart about their mother. And Nina says, you know what? I've changed my mind. I'm going to come on as CEO and I'm going to run this place. And I'm not being ran out. My father left it to us to run, and we're going to run it. And that's it. And it's like, okay, so it's on. Honey, that doggone Claudia said, you will not win. You will not win. I will get my company back from you. We will get what is ours from you. And honey, that Claudia and Andre had a little talk after. He told her, all you had to do is shut up and let her sign. And honey, Claudia told her, you don't talk to me like that. So it really showed you, Gideon, you are nothing but a boy toy, and you really have no pull. Even with it, you have no pull with her. Like, you don't even have her properly dignitized. She just basically got you stringing you along, you doing her dirty work. I said, oh, Miss Claudia is something else. She is something else. So in the midst of all this, Simon's like, well, what made you change your mind? And that's what she tells him, the call. It's the call that I actually had. He called me the day that he passed, and he told me that someone is trying to hurt the company and to hurt him. And I need to see what really went on. Who was it? Who was he talking about? And that's basically where we end for the first episode. So there's a mystery of what actually happened to him, who's attached to what happened to him. What was he actually talking about? Or was it actually nothing? But we know for a fact the family is a mess. Claudia thinks that she owns something and she really doesn't. And nobody really has say of anything or really gained anything immediately but Simon and Nina. And the other ones are basically like Gus. Gus basically works for them. Andre works for them. It just kind of is what it is. I said, oh, interesting. But this is Riches, episode 1 of season 1. Very, very interesting. and it gets better, and we gonna talk about it. All right, you all, later for now.